Check it out. Bolted in there like a beast. And this is the end result. On the bottom of the vehicle, it's still nice and flat, as we want. And we have a solid bolt going through right here, a solid bolt going through here with a big washer here and here, and these have little washers on them. So this thing is in way better than stock. Now granted, you might be thinking, well, now you've got these nubs sticking up and that could potentially be bad for your battery, but I've got a really thick piece of foam, and I might actually double this up. This is actually a piece of a yoga mat, and you really can't fill them through this, but I still might actually put a double thick piece in. This one is actually twice the thickness. It's like, what's the next thing after you've tanked out the back, after you've tanked out the chassis? Aluminum suspension mount. After you've done the same up here, suspension mounts there, aluminum body mounts, aluminum servo mounts, aluminum shock tower, aluminum bracers. Like, after all those things are tanked out, you can withstand a very heavy blow. Like for instance, the jump that actually created my battery tray to fly out. I was literally 15 or 20 feet in the air coming down on my side like this onto concrete. I was at a skate park, basically in like a 12-foot half pipe, and it just came pummeling down. You know, any other RC car, you would have broken both A-arms, if not the A-arms in the back as well. So those all held just fine. My battery tray was the next thing that didn't. So now the next evolution of the battery tray right here. Anyway guys, I really appreciate you watching my videos. This is another awesome tactic for tanking out your RC car. You can do the same thing pretty much any of the Kraton lineups or any of the Arrma lineup, from, you know, the OUTCAST, NOTORIOUS, the TALION, the SENTON, whatever. I'm pretty sure the battery tray is very similar to this one in the version 4 or even older. So basically this goes all the way through into the underside of the chassis in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. And it's about 100 times stronger than stock because my battery pack flew out. Let me show you what happened to my battery. So first report is body, A-arms, front and back, perfectly fine. Back shock tower, straight as an arrow. Rear system, strong as ever. One thing that did break is my wing broke right there. So new wing mount on its way. And this is the big thing that happened. I have no idea, now that I can see this and I'm thinking about it, why Arrma designed this system to be so weak. Literally, it's only being held on by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiny little screws that don't even really go in very far. So it broke here and here, here and here, and this just completely ripped out. Now granted, I came down like this on its side, and I'm surprised I didn't damage any of my components as far as my A-arms go, so I'm very happy about that. I did not get a chance, which is a disappointment, but I did not get a chance to actually hit that large jump that I wanted to test out the new aluminum hot racing suspension mount. I got it in the back. I don't have it in the front yet. But don't worry guys, I will. So I removed the batteries and my pad that I keep in here. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the straps. So it basically goes in like this. We've got, you'll notice there's a hole here and a hole here, both of which line up with the holes that are already existing in the chassis for these side rails. So basically, that creates two really good points to come up through for a bolt system that I'm going to incorporate here. So 1, 2, 3, 3 solid spots, and 4 if I want to figure out a way to get a bolt into this section. I might have to trim a little bit of the plastic away right here to fit a washer. I'd like something back here too, which we may end up having to do the same thing back here on this hole, which basically is right here. So the only other thing is these are now kind of freestanding, and the receiver is not mounted as securely as it was before because it was part of this system. My first thought is just drilling 2 holes in the chassis and putting screws up through this and just letting this be its own thing. It's my first thought. By removing this thing, the other thought for basically re-securing these instead of going through the chassis. And the reason why I don't want to put a hole in the chassis is because these are all pre-drilled from underneath to accommodate for the head of a screw in a flush manner. If I create my own holes and put nuts through it, then you're going to have two screws on the bottom of the car that basically are a slight bump. So the other idea would be to get this thing in there when it's back in its spot, and just to take and screw a small screw through this down into these 2 holes. Basically that hole and that hole need to line up with this. And if they're like small enough screws, then you'll just secure the 2 plastics together. I mean, you could even put a bead of like hot glue or something like that, or super glue in between it into this, which, I mean, this thing is already, you know, pretty solid in there. It's just now shifting. So that might be what I do there. So let's get started. All right guys, so I actually have a game plan. Kind of dug into my little kit of bolts and nuts and washers and found the following. 4 longer bolts that can go in from the bottom of the body and still create a flush bottom. The nuts to go on top. Washers. These 2 washers will go here and here, and then I'm going to use dual washers because they're smaller. I want it thicker to fit in here and here. But in order for the washers to fit, and the nut, I'm going to have to do a little bit of Dremel work, kind of open it up right there, and to open it up right there. All right, now the next very, very, very important thing is to remember to put your straps back on. That's how big a hole I cut in that one and that one. All right, and then there's this strap. Okay, so now I'm going to go in, put the washers in, snipped this washer so that it would fit a little bit better. Alright, so I went ahead and put the easy ones through. This one, and this one. There's a lot of excess that I'll cut off with the Dremel. Now, I'm going to be going in and doing these two, which are the ones that are, like I said, I tried to create room for. So I'm going to put the washers on now. Okay guys, so the last thing that I need to do is Dremel off the heads of all of these so that they're short and not going to poke my battery. Alright, so basically, while I do have 4 nubbies that are kind of in the way, that could potentially create or cause a little bit of damage to my battery, I do plan on putting something over all of those so that it protects the battery, which, I mean, this may be enough right here because it's a really thick matting, and yeah, it's probably gonna be just fine. So I can tell you right now, this battery tray is in there way, way better than the way they have it set up for stock. So anyway guys, that wraps up this video for how to fix / beef up your battery case tenfold. All right, well, East Tactics out.